Okay, so now we're in the first section where we're going to talk about what are modules. Okay, now if you're new to this channel and you would like to follow along with the curriculum, the link is in the description. You're welcome to it. It's free. So let's get into it. What are modules? Just like functions should be kept small and accomplish only one thing, we want to apply the same idea for the different parts of our program. Modules allows us to keep the features of the program in separate, smaller pieces. We code these smaller chunks and then connect the modules together to create the big project. Now, when we get over into React, we're going to call these components. So kind of plant the seed right now, what we're talking about. This is going to help you understand how we create components in React. Modules are like Legos. Each piece has its own distinct shape and function, and the same set of pieces can be combined in a lot of different ways to create unique results. One possible scenario, imagine we want to create a program that quizzes students on their JavaScript skills. What would go into this app? Features could include selecting questions from a stored array or object. If you've already gone through the first assignment, if you're a part of this cohort and you're still a part of this cohort, you've completed this first assignment. And we taught you how to create the questions to go into an array. You had an array of questions. Now, presenting the questions to the students and collecting their answers, we've done that in our assignment. Scoring the quizzes, we've done that in our assignment. And storing the results. So you've done all four of these. You've been introduced to this. Now we're going to build upon it. This would be a useful app, but we could make it better by adding some other features. Instead of just quizzing students, maybe we could add some tutorial pages. Our app now provides some teaching and assessment content. Next, how about adding some non-graded practice to make sure the students are ready for their final quiz? We've been doing that all the way up until this point with this curriculum. Once we accomplish that, we could continue adding to our app to make it better and better. Let's pause a moment to consider what happened to the size of our project. As the program evolved from the straightforward quiz app to one that included tutorials and practice tasks, the number of lines of code increased. Now imagine we replicate all of these features for 2 or 3 other programming languages. We can picture our app as follows: JavaScript skills tracker, tutorials, practice, quizzes, stored results. And then we have topics that fall up under the tutorials and practice. Select a score question, and then stored results. All of it just goes into the stored results. But the parent here is the JavaScript skill tracker. For additional programming language, add copies of this structure. So this is the structure, the original idea. Imagine if the project included 2 or 3 additional programming languages. The result is a mammoth program that contains thousands of lines of code. How would this impact debugging? How about keeping the code dry? Don't repeat yourself with what is the acronym for dry. Or the acronym for don't repeat yourself is dry. Do any of these features overlap? How easy is it to add new features? These are questions. What are we doing? We're preparing you to learn how to ask questions, because when you get to your job or your internship, You're going to have to participate by asking questions. They're going to give you features, and it's up to you to really make it granular and understand what those features need to do. So here we're teaching you a lesson to learn how to ask questions. Now, why use modules? Modules help us keep our project organized. If we find a bug in the quiz part of our program, then we can focus our attention on the quiz module rather than the entire code base. Again, this is another representation of what we're going to call components when we get to React. Modules also save us effort in our projects. Another example of the dry concept, we have already practiced condensing repetitive tasks into loops or functions. So we've already laid the foundation. Now we're going to do what? We're going to expand it. Similarly, if we design our quiz module in a generic way, then we can use that same module in other programs. Again, components are reusable, so are modules. This is what we call the vanilla approach to JavaScript. It's not a library, it's just a vanilla approach. Even better, we can share our modules with other programmers and use someone else's work with permission to enhance our own. This is where the dependencies come in at in your package.json. Those are modules. Writing the imaginary quiz tutorial practice app from scratch would take us many, many weeks. However, someone in the coding community might already have modules that we can immediately incorporate into our own project, saving us time and effort. What this is called is open source. There's pretty much an open source for anything out there that you want to build. You don't want to build anything from scratch if you can help it. If there's something out there you can use and they give you permission to use it, go ahead and use it. Modules keep us from reinventing the wheel. Some modules also provide us with useful shortcuts, like we've introduced readline sync, allow us to collect input from a user. And this module contains lots of other methods besides the dot question. That is a method. Remember a method? You got a dot, the method name, and the parentheses. We use in our examples, rather than making every developer write their own code for interacting with the user through the console, readline sync makes the process easier for all by providing a set of ready-to-use functions. We do not need to worry about how the module works. This is where that abstraction comes from. We don't need to know how it works. We just need to be able to pull it into our projects and use its functions. Okay, that's the end of this video, end of this particular section. Again, we're introducing modules to you. You've already messed around with them, played with them up until this point. So let's understand what they are. Again, modules associated with components. They're little small pieces of chunks of code that you write. Understand another terminology that I introduced to you, open source. There's a lot of open source out there that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's the end of this video. So remember, the more you do, the more you improve. See you in the next section.